Hey everybody, and welcome to another segment of AstrologyAnswers.com's weekly forecast. My name is Terence. The week begins on Monday, April the 21st, 2025. Now, this is a week for reflecting and reviewing before forging ahead into your next goal, your next chapter. That is because next Sunday, on April the 27th, is a new moon in Taurus. We have a new moon every 4 weeks. A new moon focuses our priorities, our attention to a new domain of life. And what I advise every month, the week before a new moon is a time of closure, winding down, but not yet starting something new, but kind of reviewing and reflecting on what you've been doing. Plus, this week we have several long moon of course periods, a time also of reflection and not moving forwards. So let's start with Monday, the 21st. The moon, which sets the public tone, is in Aquarius. And there's nothing else going on astrologically with other planets. But the Aquarius moon we're more compelled to look to the future, to think out of the box, try new things. It sometimes can be very quirky, but it's also very social with friendships. On Tuesday, the moon continues in Aquarius. By mid-afternoon, it's squaring or forming a hard angle to rebellious Uranus. Uranus is the planet associated with Aquarius. So Aquarius can be very futuristic, and so is the Uranus, but they're in tension. So by mid-afternoon Pacific time, there might be some emotional tension, stresses, upsets. Then the moon goes void, of course, from 1:57 p.m. to 9:08 p.m. Pacific time, at which point the moon leaves quirky Aquarius, more impersonal Aquarius, and moves into very sensitive, compassionate, intuitive Pisces. On Wednesday, the moon continues in Pisces throughout the day as the moon goes from sign to sign every 2.5 days. But while the moon is in Pisces, on Wednesday, the sun in Taurus is going to be squaring or a hard push to nebulous Neptune. Actually, Neptune is the planet that is associated with Pisces. So a Sun square Neptune day can bring in the positive, always try to look to how we can direct the energy positively, is about compassion, empathy, could be good for the imagination. But for the most part, you could be feeling kind of spacey with the Sun Neptune, unfocused. Maybe there's some disappointments. You might be feeling more tired. Now, on Thursday, the moon is continuing in Pisces, but it's going to also go void, of course, at 6:58 p.m. to 11:25 p.m. And again, you don't want to be making any important decisions and taking any important actions during the moon void, of course, because the moon is no longer making aspects to other planets. And so there's a lot of flat, unproductive energies. But the moon will leave very watery, sensitive, dreamy Pisces at 11:25 p.m. Pacific time and go into fiery, assertive Aries, wanting emotionally to take more action. But also throughout the day, on Thursday, pleasure-seeking, sociable, creative Venus will align with restricted, responsible Saturn. This is a time where relationships are being tested. You may also be very concerned about your finances. Socially, you may be feeling more isolated, more restricted, especially when the moon goes void of course, which is best for just pulling away and reflecting. On Friday, as the moon is now in Aries, fiery and assertive, ambitious Aries, it's going to cross over communication, decision-making Mercury by mid-afternoon Pacific time. Now, this could be very favorable for talking about, that's the Mercury, your feelings, that's the moon. This is also very favorable for writing. That's all part of expressing your thoughts and your feelings. Now, what you also got to be careful, though, that the moon can be very emotional and subjective energies. And Mercury is the planet of information, communication. Mercury is a planet that's very rational, much more intellectual. So once a month, when the moon crosses over Mercury, it can, you might be very much influenced by your emotions and feelings, but not being very rational. Good creatively, but when you're trying to communicate with others, you might even be feeling confused or jumping to conclusions. Mid-afternoon, it only happens for an hour and an hour or two. As we get to Saturday, the moon is continuing in assertive dynamic Aries, but it goes void of course 8:19 a.m. until 11:18 p.m. So mostly the entire day, the moon is void of course in fiery Aries. But with the moon void of course, the energy is flat and unproductive. So you might be feeling a lot of anxiousness, but you could be jumping to conclusions. And Mars, warrior assertive Mars, which is the planet associated with Aries, Mars, once every 2 years, will be opposite Pluto. They're opposites interacting with others. Mars-Pluto can trigger a tremendous amount of compulsiveness, a lot of obsessive energies. And with the void of course all day, and in Aries wanting to take action, and Mars-Pluto can be very assertive, aggressive energies. The best thing you can do here, and it's also the day before the new moon, and as I said, and what I advise, you don't really want to be making really important decisions or taking action the week before a new moon, because the energy is winding down before it gears up and moves into a new focus. So that's the new moon. The new moon is on Sunday. But on Saturday, with the moon void of course all day for the most part, and here's assertive Mars opposite Pluto, you might be feeling a tremendous amount of restlessness and anxiousness to take action. But you're going to feel like you're spinning your wheels and not really manifesting anything, and you might be feeling really frustrated. It's a good day to just meditate, take a walk, reflect, but try not to be so impulsive. And then finally on Sunday, with the new moon in Taurus, Taurus is a sign that's very steady, very calming. But Taurus is the sign of material security. And so this new moon in Taurus that will be impacting everybody until the next new moon, which is for the next 4 weeks, could be really focused on finances, finding some emotional security. And Mars and Pluto remember, in opposition and tension on Saturday, are still going to be impacting the new moon. So there's going to also be, as we're going with this new moon going into those next several weeks, there's going to be a lot of ambitious, anxious energies. Now, I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you next week with my next segment. Until then, be safe and well.